She was one of AKB48's 7 gods and revered as an example of being the perfect idol. But then, out of nowhere, she decided to leave the showbiz world, vanishing without a trace. What exactly happened? Where is she now? Stay tuned for this episode of Otaku Files as we take a look at Watanabe Mayu. Most of us outside of Japan may not be aware of some of the more interesting personalities within the Japanese otaku landscape, so I thought I'd do a little video series and try to shed some light on these individuals. This is Otaku Files. Just when you thought our AKB48 journey might be over, by popular request, we're going back in. This time looking at a rather interesting case. Meet Watanabe Mayu, active in AKB48 from 2007 to 2017, and arguably one of the most popular idols in AKB48 history, with dedicated fans both in and out of Japan even to this day. Nicknamed Mayuyu, she is noted for being one of the original Kami 7. Generally speaking, the Kami 7 refers to the top 7 from the Senbatsu So Senkyo or Senbatsu election, where fans get to vote for their favorite members. Apparently, the original Kami 7 were quite popular, so much so that fans still think of them when the term Kami 7 is used. Mayuyu was also known for her unparalleled beauty, that it was almost like she came straight out of an anime. Also, unlike Paruru, who was known for her Shio Taiyo, you can check out my video on her to find out what that means, Mayuyu was known for her Kami Taiyo, or the godlike way she handled interaction with fans. Another thing which also many praised her for is the fact that in the 10 years that she was active, she was never involved in a single scandal. With her idol professionalism, which even garnered her the nickname of Idol Cyborg, not sure if I would take that as a compliment, Mayuyu was what everyone considered to be the perfect idol. However, apparently all was not as well as it might have seemed. Mayuyu was born in the prefecture of Saitama. Unlike the perfect idol image I was talking about earlier, during her elementary school years, Mayuyu says that she was like the ghost of the class. I'm guessing things didn't always go well there, but she did apparently have friends. Coming back home, what was the first thing she did? Go straight to the computer. It might have come as a surprise to some of her fans when they first heard this, but Mayuyu was sort of a net junkie. She says that it was a time that she preferred the world of fantasy over reality. That includes the 2D world too. Apparently she was really into online gaming, but Mayuyu turned out to be a pretty hardcore anime otaku. It almost seems like Mayu could have easily gone down the hikikomori route. She wouldn't even converse with her family during mealtimes. So what exactly changed? Well, after 2 years of living that way, within her 6th year of elementary school, while surfing the web, Mayuyu would come across a particular news article. It was about the birth of an idol group, one that would perform on the 8th floor of Akihabara's Don Quixote, dancing and singing while wearing school uniforms. This would be how Mayuyu would come to learn about AKB48. At first, she was just watching them as a fan, but then she would see that they were looking for new members that would be part of the second generation. Now, as you could probably tell, Mayuyu wasn't exactly the type to dance and sing in front of large crowds of people, something she knew very well herself. But for some reason, she had the strong urge to try an audition, thinking that maybe she too could become a member of AKB48. At first, her parents were pretty reluctant to let her audition, but Mayuyu persisted until they eventually gave in. Mayuyu made it as far as the last round, which took place in February 2006, but unfortunately she ended up not being able to go through. In a later interview though, she says it was probably for the best that she didn't end up in Team K, AKB48's second group, as she might not have been able to keep up. However, Mayu wasn't done yet. She begged her mother again until she said yes to let her take the third audition, which was accepting applicants starting June of that same year. Mayuyu learned from her mistakes and made sure not to repeat them again. Luckily, this time, she made it. She would join Team B. She had become the Kohai aka junior to these idols that she looked up to and adored. Even years later, she says she still gets nervous around them. Unfortunately though, things didn't go smoothly at first, as very soon after debuting, she would end up injuring her foot, putting her out of action for quite a while. Obviously, this must have been really frustrating for her, but apparently this is what would influence some of the lyrics for the song Shonichi that would be released a couple of years later. A few months later though, Mayuyu would be chosen to appear on the single Bingo. FYI, this was apparently the first time an AKB48 single featured members from all three teams. You can just imagine how Mayuyu must have felt when she was told she would take part in it. But probably nothing could prepare her for what would happen later on in that year, as she would also get to appear in the major annual music event known as Kohaku Utagassen. I have talked about Kohaku Utagassen in other videos, but just know it's a pretty big deal in Japan. In any case, like I talked about in the beginning, Mayuyu became a pretty popular member. She was described as looking so cute, it was almost like she was CG. Nope, that's really how fans described her. She was also given the mantle of Odo Idoru, which we can roughly translate as the quintessential idol in English. Speaking in a later interview about it though, Mayuyu just thought of that as being part of her character as an AKB48 member, as in being the one that is the Odo Idoru. However, like I also previously mentioned, Mayuyu was an otaku, and probably related to that, she also seemed very awkward and weird, something fans would get to know through AKB48's TV programs, which did also make her more entertaining and fun to watch. But it certainly wasn't easy being in the biggest idol group in Japan, and she took the role really seriously. Mayuyu has talked about how she would sometimes only get around 3 hours of sleep during busy times, and even ended up taking trips to the hospital where she would be placed on an intravenous drip. That's just insane. Now here we're going to skip the rest of Mayuyu's accomplishments within AKB48 and the subgroup she would join Watari ro ga wa Hashiritai 7, otherwise this would be an extremely long video, and get to what would happen around 10 years after her debut.
私、渡辺真由は AKB48 を卒業します。
During the 9th AKB48 Senbatsu So Senkyo, where she placed second, Mayuyu would announce her graduation. It seems that she was thinking about this for around 2 or 3 years, but felt like there was nothing left for her to accomplish within the group, and wanted to try something different. This was obviously a real shock to many, but she had been in the group since she was in middle school, and fans did seem to notice that within the last few years, Mayuyu mellowed out quite a bit and stopped showing that weird otaku side of her. With her intense and crazy schedule, honestly it would make sense if she was just burnt out. However, her career didn't stop with AKB48. During her graduation concert held in her hometown of Saitama, Mayuyu announced her solo album, Best Regards, which would be released around the end of that year. She would also have her own concert a couple of months later. Not only that, she would get to star in her own drama series called Itsuka Kono Ame ga Yamu Himade. Things were looking good for Mayuyu post-graduation. That was until on June 1st, her agency Production Ogi announced that due to health reasons, Mayuyu had retired from the entertainment industry and that her contract with them had ended the day before. Mayuyu herself would put out a short statement on Twitter saying that she had left her agency and won't take on any more work from the entertainment industry. She then thanked everyone and wished everyone to take care of themselves. It was a complete and utter shock to everyone and sent shockwaves throughout Japan. The one question on everyone's mind: why? Well, some say it probably wasn't an illness, but she just wanted a way to leave the entertainment world and live a more normal life, which in all honesty could be true. There are other theories though, and one that has been making rounds in the Japanese interwebs isn't as positive. Nakai Masahiro was in one of the biggest boy bands in Japan, SMAP, and was a pretty big TV and radio personality too, until it was reported that Masahiro sexually assaulted a Fuji TV announcer. How is this related? Well, Mayuyu and Nakai Masahiro worked together as a host and assistant for the music TV program Utage for around a year and a half. In regards to Mayuyu's retirement, Nakai Masahiro apparently made some comments along the lines of wanting to see more of her act, and that she had great potential. This, along with some other things here and there, made netizens wonder if Nakai Masahiro was the real reason why Mayuyu left the entertainment industry. But in the end, these are ultimately rumors, and as far as I can tell, there doesn't seem to be any real validity to them. However, there is some possible good news though for fans, as it was reported that Mayuyu was spotted fairly recently, and that she is now supposedly married to an actor. I don't really want to get into those details, but if it is true, then honestly good for her. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. This was indeed a request. To be honest, Mayuyu wasn't a name I was really familiar with compared to some of the other AKB48 members, but it's pretty clear that she's well loved by many. I really do hope she is happy and doing well now. If you do have any other suggestions for future videos, please do let me know in the comment section below. Until next time though, stay safe and be happy. Later, peace.